All right, the next thing that we are going to look at in CSS is the box model. The idea behind a box model is it is a box that is inside a box that is inside a box that is, you guessed it, inside of a box. So it looks something like this. So this content inside, let's say that's your image or your text, whatever it might be. Then the next thing that's around, that surrounds your content, and it's always a box, will be the padding. So say you have like a small circle, it would still be considered a box, and then the padding would be a square around your small circle. And then there is a border. The border is going to be by default 0, so you're not going to see it, but it is there, and you could change it from 0 to 100 if you want. And we'll take a look at that. And then outside of that is your margin area. Now, your margin area is transparent, so you will not see it, but it does provide spacing between your content and the next object or element that's on your page. So say you had two images next to each other, the margin is going to be that space between those two. All right, so let's go take a look what this looks like in code. So right here, I have made a little text about some kittens that I've had, or cats that I've had. So it says, I love me some kittens. I've had 3 cats, Xena, Suki, and Zyra. So all it is it is a div with the class of box. There's a paragraph inside. There's a UL. And let's add an image. Let's say image and source equal, and I have a cat picture. So let's go current directory, down to resources, down to image, and down to kitty.jpg. All right, so we'll save that, and we have a big old kitty, and let's add a class on it because we'll need to resize that a little bit. So I'm just gonna name that kitty, and I'll save that. And then inside our CSS, I'm going to make a kitty class. And the kitty is going to be height of 100 pixels and width of 100. Save that, and now we have a weird looking cat. So let's make the width a little bit bigger. There. Alright, so this is going to be our content box right here. Now, if I were to add a border so we can see this, let's say a border, we're going to make it 2 pixels and we're going to have it solid. There's options, there's like dashed. So we're going to do solid and black. So now this is our entire so our content's inside, and then our box is the entire width of this area. So to take a look at the padding, let's make this padding, and we'll make it 50 pixels. Now notice how far this goes in, because it's going to add a padding all around as a box of 50 pixels. Now if I were to make this just the top, so I said padding top and saved it. So notice now it's just 50 pixels on the top of the box. And then these two are 0. So you can kind of add padding on top, bottom, and you will come up with different ideas and different design to make this. But the other thing to look at is going to be the margin. Now, if I were to have this same box, so I took this div and I copied it, so Shift Alt down and saved it. I'll have 2 of these 2 boxes touching, so there's no margin in between them, they're just touching. So let's add a margin to it. So in our box, let's say margin, and then we had, let's say 10 pixels. And now you see that there's 10 pixels between these two. It's pretty awesome. So when you have a website that has like articles, like multiple articles, or you go to a website and they have like the 3 pricing boxes, those pricing boxes are separated by your margins. So to take a look at these shorthands a little bit closer, what it's doing is it's automatically assuming that if you're putting padding 10 or margin 10, whatever the case may be, what it's doing is actually essentially writing this out. It's having padding, well, we use 50, but you get the idea. So padding 10 is the same as writing all these out. So if I were to save this, now there's a 10 pixel padding around it. So instead of writing each of one of those out, you can write all of them together. Now there will be an exercise in the lesson plan to actually go through and play around with each one of those. But this is basically how it works, and it's the same for margin. And there's different varieties of it. So if you wanted like left bottom and then top, you could just do the 3. And we will take a look at that more in the text. But for now, just know that those are there. So if I take this border out, you know that the border doesn't stay. So save that. And now we have, if this was different types of list, it would actually look pretty cool. So real quick, I added these in so you could take a look at these. These are the type of borders that there are for your web page. So let's put in H1, these borders. Save that. So these are the different types of borders. So now we can go in and look at our styles, and we can kind of play around with these, right? We can add border, and you can actually change this to pretty much any color. You can use the hexadecimals like we talked about. You can have dashed. Save that, and there's a dash border. You just saw solid. There's groove, which you can't really tell a difference of. What's the 8 pick? So you can kind of, if you look closely, you can kind of see those grooves. There's a double border. It looks like one's darker than the other. Let's do ridge, which looks like it's kind of popped up. So you can kind of play around with those, and I will list those in the lesson plan as well. And there's one more topic I want to talk about, and we're going to go back up here and we're going to take these out. What we're going to do is make this back to 2 pixels, and we can leave the rest and take out one box for now. So we have that one box. Now let's make this box a little bit smaller so it's not sitting on the other side. So what if I made this width 200 pixels and the height 200 pixels, save it, and it's sticking out a little bit, so I think we need to make this height a little bit bigger. We made that 300 pixels, and then, okay. So we have this box here, and we can make the padding back to 10 pixels. Alright, let's go. Alright, so if you wanted, say you wanted to center this, because right now it's kind of off to the left. What you can do is you can actually use the auto property on margin. So what you could say is margin. Now we don't want it to be up and down centered, right? We want it to be centered horizontally. So what we can do is we can say margin left auto, and then we can say margin right auto, because this way it'll automatically take our box and move it from left to right. So try that out. I actually wrote a colon here, so let's take that out, semicolon. And you're gonna get this is nice and centered on your page now, which is pretty sweet. So no matter how big the page is, it's automatically taking our margin and it's moving that far over. And then if you wanted to say move more space on the bottom, what you could say is margin bottom pixels, and that pushes the content down a little bit away from you. So those are the main things about the box model that you're going to be tackling. And at this point, we are ready to actually tackle our first page that looks and feels good.